Okay, well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fully Engaged. We have an awesome couple that we're about to bring up here, Mike and Lexi Rogers. They just got married like a month ago.
Yes.
They had an epic wedding in the Caribbean. We're going to hear all about that, how they met. They both have been very successful in their professional careers. Both have worked, both have traveled, both have built different businesses, and they both have had previous marriages. They both have 2 children, almost the same age, 2 children each from their previous marriages, and now have found something different about their connection here that we want to explore, that we want to dive into. For those of you that this is the first time listening to our show, we got engaged just a couple months ago. Yes, it's pretty cool ring. You got a rainbow moonstone. Yeah, it's something that fits our, airy hippie brioche, right? And we decided that we want to take our relationship intentionally, that we don't want to do this by accident. And what's the best way to do that? We want to find couples that are winning and ask them why. So we are interviewing 100 couples before we get married, and you're going to hear one of them tonight.
Woo, I'm so excited. I love this couple. Actually, we got engaged in Maui, and the house that we stayed at was their vacation home.
Yes.
So they have a special place in my heart because that was the best trip of my life, the best day of my whole life, and very sweet of them to let us stay there.
Yeah, for those of you that listen to our story, it kind of fell together literally 5 days before we left.
Yeah.
And it was all because of this couple, their generosity, love, energy. You're about to feel in spades. So please give a huge warm welcome for Mike and Lexi Rogers. Come on. Right up these stairs here. Come on. They kind of hesitated for a minute there. I can see it. They're like, this is the last chance. All right, let's get rid of these pillows.
Are gone.
Hello. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you, brother.
Hi.
All right.
It's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. I'll give you a hug too.
They're good. Roll.
Okay.
He good over there? All right.
Okay, great.
Okay, well, we start most interviews right here. How did the two of you meet?
We met on Hinge. I wish I had a cooler story, but we met on the dating app Hinge.
I can see that she would be on Hinge because you want to be in charge, right?
Well,
you want to make the first
I don't
move.
know. I think that's Bumble.
Oh,
what you're
yeah.
talking about.
I don't know the difference between all these days.
That's right.
Because-
Bumble's that one.
Yeah, men can reach out to you, and it's good because I wouldn't have never reached out. I just window shopped. all the
Yes.
time.
Okay.
And
But-
the profile was actually, you couldn't really tell what, you could kind of see what Lexi looked like, but it was still kind of mysterious.
Okay.
And I found out later it's because her daughter put together the profile for her. And so,
Did you know?
Yeah, I knew.
Okay.
Yeah. See, so I was single for 13 years after
Okay.
my divorce, and I didn't date much because I was a single mom and worked all the time. But I would window shop.
Sure.
And he was having a hurricane in Dallas, and he was in the bathtub, and that's how that conversation started. So
yeah,
it
it was, yeah.
yeah.
She seemed like
Please
she,
go on.
Yeah.
tornado, not hurricane, but tornado.
Oh yeah, tornado.
Tornado was going on. I was actually in the bathtub. We started to communicate, and she was really fun. She had a great personality. I could tell that she was really attractive, and it wasn't until I actually met her in person. So I
We had
was
good
moving.
banter.
I was moving from Dallas to Utah, and so first date, this cute little blonde popped around the corner, and
Does she look like her profile picture?
she did, but her profile picture was still some of the pictures were far enough away, or they were kind of a little. So she did. She better than her profile picture. Good
answer.
She walked around the corner. I'm like, thank you, Hinge. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it wasn't until later when I got to know her, I was like, wow, she's beautiful. Outside and inside, like beautiful. So
Yeah. And so you weren't living in the same state. So you're going back and forth. You got a little bit of banter going on. And then what makes you all of a sudden, that's a huge jump now to if you're going to meet up. Was it happenstance or did you make the effort?
Well, I scheduled a whole bunch more ski trips after the first date because I'm like, I have to come back out.
Okay,
And
she was in
so
Utah.
She was in Utah.
Okay.
I was coming out here to ski, but the real reason I was coming out here is I wanted to meet her again. So first date was just restaurant. Second date was a comedy club. Third date was brunch.
But you got to tell him about that second date. The best one.
The best date?
Yes.
Yeah. So, of course, I was a gentleman. I offered to pick her up. She said, no,
course.
thanks. I'll meet you somewhere. And she's super attractive. And so I rented a hotel downtown Salt Lake
That's ambitious.
because I wanted to be close to ski resorts. But really, and this came out later, I was like, hey, it'd be awesome if fireworks flew.
This is the second date.
This is the second date.
Okay.
This is the second date.
First date,
Okay.
super respectable.
Yes.
Sure.
Second date, I was hoping.
Yeah.
She
All bets off.
and no, she dropped me off and
I
said,
drove him back to the hotel, and I could just tell. But I was like, one,
like, hey, do you want to come up? No.
it's our second date, and two, like, that's a Hampton Inn, buddy. Come on.
Well, really came out later. She's like, well, if it was a better hotel, would that really make a difference? She's like, no. I'm like, well, then Hampton Inn was the right choice.
The fact that you're bringing her back. Right?
You can't have a nightcap at a Hampton Inn.
No, no.
You can, not with Lexi.
So he's super into you. How are you feeling at this point?
So after that night, I kind of laughed driving home because I was like, he totally thought that, something was going to happen.
Yeah, shoot your shot.
And yeah, and
He shot at him.
Yeah,
I let him fall, but
she did.
Yeah. So, but then he came back a third time, the third date. Right?
Third date was brunch. And
Safer.
Safer.
Yeah.
It's closer to her home, but I still didn't know exactly where she lived. The third date, like every date, was super authentic, super real. What really stood out for me about Lexi is, she's beautiful, but the reality is the quality of the conversation and how real that was and authentic, and it just resonated at a completely different level than anything else, any other date that I've been on. And so I wanted more of that.
There was depth to her.
Oh yeah.
Well, what was different about our conversations is they were actual conversations.
Right.
Like we were talking about our experiences, and it wasn't, when you go on a first date, you're not supposed to supposedly talk about your exes or the experiences that
There's a lot of rules when it comes
there's
to
a
first
lot
dates.
of rules and stuff like that. Well, it was just comfortable, and it was just like, hey, this is what I've been through. This was my experience. This is, what I want moving forward. And he was completely honest.
Yeah.
So you can tell him what you told me if you're comfortable with that.
Sure. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get to, if you want. So, what I realized is first date is always interesting. I typically wouldn't go back in history on that first date, depending on the type of date.
Yeah.
This was such an open, vulnerable date. I learned a lot about her and her kind of past. And so I wanted her to know me and my past. And we were both divorced. What worked well, what didn't work well. And taking a lot of accountability on my end of hey, look, I realized that I was a phenomenal dad. I was a great provider. I don't think I was an emotionally connected spouse. And that over time really created challenges. And by the end of my previous marriage, I felt like we were roommates. And when I reflect back, I take a lot of that on me because my ex actually really worked on herself, and I think she emotionally outgrew me. And her emotional intelligence was so much higher than mine.
Wow.
And I was okay just being okay because we had a good life. Financially we were doing okay. We had great kids, but intimacy was missing, and intimacy I equated with sex and that connection. Intimacy isn't that. Intimacy is vulnerability and transparency and trusting the other person to actually see who you are, not the projection. And I didn't learn that till later, and I reflected back. So we had this really deep conversation about that. And, I think what I heard later, Lexi's like, hey, I actually thought that was really neat that you took accountability and you spoke highly of your ex because she's great.
Yeah. I love that. I've said something similar to her over, our time dating of like, not only do you make me feel comfortable to be myself, but I like who I am when I'm with you.
Exactly.
Right? And when those two things line up, it seems like that's what you felt and you hadn't before.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I probably was more interested in her at first than she was interested in me, although we had a lot of fun going on dates, etc.
I'm just very cautious.
Sure.
I'm just very cautious.
Well, let's talk about that. So 13 years, you are a single mom, and I would imagine you've got to kind of shut yourself off to that, right? Like you're not looking, you said you're window shopping, right? What shifted that to all of a sudden make you take it seriously?
Well, so just a little bit of a backstory. It was a really messy divorce.
Okay.
So I was healing, right? And I just, a lot of time had passed and I had something to prove to myself. So when I was married, it was the typical Utah thing. I went straight from my dad straight to my husband, had my girls at a really young age, right? And then when I got divorced, everything was ripped out from underneath me, right? So I had to pull everything up from my bootstraps and be like, how am I gonna make my money, put a roof over my head, support my girls, and all of that
And
stuff.
how long had you been married?
10 years.
10 years. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So I did all that, and what ended up happening is I was on this journey, not even realizing it, but I went totally masculine and forgot everything about who I used to be and was totally out of touch with my feminine. So one, I don't think I was approachable in any way, shape, or form.
Did you had RBF?
Big time. Yeah.
Mike nodded his head too.
Yeah. That. And I just, timing is everything. And I just wasn't ready. And I had to get to a point where I realized that if I wanted to bring love into my life, which I did after the 13 years, that I needed to be who I wanted to attract in. So what that means is I needed to be financially, mentally, spiritually, and physically strong. And it took me all that time to do that. And then when my kids were a little older, I finally was like, okay, it's okay for me to maybe have a personal life.
Yeah.
But for a long time, it was a lot of isolation.
Yeah.
And so.
And I would just add, what was really cool, I didn't know this at the time, she actually manifested. So she put it out in the universe of what the attributes she was looking for, and she didn't show that to me until later. And actually, she put that into her wedding vows.
Those were my vows.
Those were her vows.
So cool.
Yeah.
And when you-
So I was on. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't. Mean to, I was on the road, and my daughter packed up my condo before we moved in together, and right before we went to St. Lucia for our wedding, I was cleaning out my closet, and I found this manifestation letter that I wrote, and it was in November 2020. My ex-husband had just passed away from brain cancer, and I think that was the turning point for me, because there's different types of loves, and for me, I've had 3 loves in my life. My daughters have 2 different dads. So my first daughter, that was my high school sweetheart. Her dad, my first everything, right? The childhood love. And then my youngest daughter, I married her dad, and he raised the both of them. And it was a messy divorce. And when he passed away, before that, the second dad, yes, the first husband, only husband, I was only married once. Yeah. So a lot of healing took place between him and I and my girls, right? And so I think it was only then when I was fully cracked open and forced to sit in my feelings, because there was that, and then there was COVID, and I think overall that time I just got numb and didn't know how I felt, right? So I was forced to sit in my feelings, and I remember this, like, I'm a hippie, it was a new moon, so I was writing down all my intentions, totally.
Yes.
And that's what I wrote. I wrote down that, I realize now that in order to bring somebody in, I have to be all of those qualities.
You have to be giving that.
Yeah, we have to be the same in order to get.
What do you offer in a relationship, and then what do you want in a relationship?
Yeah.
And I felt that in the first date. That was the difference. I felt someone who had actually done the work, who had actually really was grounded with herself and what she wanted. She was really actually very clear what she wanted. She's like, hey, if you're not interested in getting married again, that's okay. You seem like a nice guy. I want to get married. I want to find that person.
That's awesome.
And it challenged me to say, my response was, when I find the right person, I'm 100% in. I'm moving to Utah, so I'm not that's not what I'm looking for right now, but I'm not going to say no to that if the universe serves that up. And it did.
Yeah, I just wanted somebody that is doing the work, has done the work, and continues to do the work.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting. Before we get to how you knew, I want to just ask, you said you're the father of one of your children who you were married to passed
Yeah.
from brain cancer. Like, how did that take a toll on you? Obviously, you've been out of the relationship for a while, but that's the dad of your daughter.
Well, before Mike, so he was the love of my life.
Yeah.
And he left the marriage. I tried to make it work. He left me.
Yeah.
So there was this big open wound there,
Yeah.
right? And so, and over the 13 years, there was a lot of back and forth and all of that stuff. So it was just one of those difficult passionate relationships is how I would put that, if that makes sense. So, and we had court battles for 8 years of the 13 that we were, yeah, so there was a lot. So in January, final court battle ended. So I thought, I'm never going to have to see this SOB ever again, and I can get on with my life. And then I got a phone call, and I saw his name on my phone, and I'll never forget this. I picked up the phone, and I said, what do you want? And he was like, Lex, I have brain cancer. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it doesn't happen that fast. And I remember a week before that, my daughter was like, Mom, Dad's being really weird. He doesn't remember a lot of things. And he drank a lot, so he had some issues. And I was like, Ken's, he's okay. You know, sometimes when people drink, they forget things, but he's okay. So anyways, me and my daughter, that day when I got that phone call, we were on our way out the door, and I told her, like, something came up at work, I'll be right back. And because I could tell that he was weird, and I was like, where are you? And he's like, I'm outside of the Harmons by our old house. So I went and got him. And on the way to get him, his brother called me and told me what was happening, that this is real, and he had got him into a doctor up at Primary Children's, and that it is brain cancer, and it's in his frontal lobe. Well, because it was in his frontal lobe, he forgot short-term memory, but remembered long-term memory, so he thought he was still married.
Oh my gosh.
So, because he thought he was still married, I just, showed up. You do a lot for your kids, and I just showed up to not confuse him anymore. And then,
Wow.
as he was sick and stuff, I explained to the girls because, they stepped in, they took care of their dad, like my whole family did, but I had to step away. So I moved to Denver for 3 months just to gather my bearings. And I get nervous when I talk about all this stuff.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah,
This is heavy.
It is, it's heavy, it's emotional, but it just, rounds out the whole picture.
Yeah.
So anyways, I would talk to him all the time when I was in Denver. And
at this point, he thought you were still married.
yeah, because he would call me and be like, where are you? When you coming over for dinner? Like,
And you just explained to him that you're living in a different state.
no, I just would be like, I'm at work, I'll be home later, or like stuff like that.
And were you
Just-
living in a different state at this point?
I was in Denver, and he was here. So yeah, but he'd easily forget, right?
Oh,
And then,
so very short term. Wow.
And so then my daughter called and said, Dad can't talk anymore. I need you to come down here. And so I went and I spent a weekend there
Oh, wow.
with him. And then I just said, and he wasn't talking at the time. And I just said, I need you to do something for me. I need you to make me a promise that you'll hold on until I get back, like let me close this up until I get back. And that number one rule is Kensington has got to finish school, so she can't be here taking care of you all the time. Like let other people step in. So he wrote, Kenzie was like, you need to go to school, finish all that up. Like, I'm okay. So anyways, finished. I got the certificate for work thing. Came. It was the 13th. I came. I stayed with him with the girls, and then he passed away on the 16th. Yeah, he passed away on the 16th, and then, something. I had this experience. It was just. I'll share this, but it's very, very personal. But
Sure.
I'll share this because I think that this was the universe saying, like, thank you, because it was so messy and so anything, but love's not linear at all. It's messy and it's beautiful and it's all the things. And it ended up being the four of us, and we were in his bed in his living room, and the girls were on each side. And I was sitting on the couch, and I just heard this voice that said, "Go sit on the bed." And so I went and sat on the bed, and I was just watching the girls talk to him. And then it was like we were in this bubble, and it was just warm, and there was like everything fell back. And it was just this warmth, and we were just light, just the four of us. And then it was like an osmosis. I just saw his spirit, I guess, just come up just like this. And it was just this osmosis, and it just lifted. And I just felt this feeling just like, it was a gift. It was the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. And it healed the four of us. And the reason why I'm telling you this story, as crazy as it is, because I manifested Mike and that relationship, but I also feel that he brought him to me.
Oh my gosh.
I really do. And Mike and I, like when we met, it was like, you've heard of universal strings, like all of these things in like everything just lined up so perfectly. And then when we got, when we sat and talked and stuff, it was just, I recognized a familiarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what made it so comfortable.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful.
That's my story.
Yeah. Thank you.
I didn't even know any of that.
I know it's so cool to start these interviews and you don't know where they're going to go, but like to take the time to get into that. Thank you for sharing. First off, I love what you said about love not being linear. We've experienced that. We've talked about that it doesn't necessarily make sense when you look at it in our timelines or how that works, but the result is healing.
Yeah.
The result's love. And then to see how you feel that he brought him to you, that's incredible. I mean, our third episode of our show is she calls Romeo, her son, her little wingman, because he set us up. Like he picked us out, and we're confident of that. So to hear you say the same thing is like, I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So he was my greatest teacher, and that's the kind of love that was. And Mike, without a doubt, is my peace.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we call Romeo my little wingman, but we also say all the time that we totally manifested each other too. It's crazy because the day that I met Connor, he literally wrote down in his journal this whole list of what he wanted in a woman. And if you were to read his list, you would say, I mean...
Oh, she's going to say it. She's like, that was me, but it's true.
It's crazy. It's like he perfectly describes me.
Yeah.
It's real.
And also being so confident that a few years ago I wasn't ready for her, right? And the same thing is that you know, in that position, you wouldn't be ready. So thank you for sharing that. Let's get back to Mike. So now, like, you guys decide this is it. This is different. And I love that you talked about peace. So, like, how did that show up? And when did you make the move from getting denied at the Hampton Inn to
We're back to Hampton.
now we're back? How'd you circle back?
I
to
rebounded.
Hampton?
Yeah. So on our third date, she laid a kiss on me that I'll never forget. That was the, hey, I want you to remember me kiss. And we had been talking about it. I'm like, I wanted her to get a view into my life. And so I wanted to invite her to Texas before I moved to Utah to say, hey, I want you to see my life. I want you to see who I am. You know, not to meet my kids, but actually just to get to know me. And so I invited her to come to Texas. Texas was actually the time where it was Friday through, I think, Sunday that she came. And she told me when we were in one of our dates, she's like, I love cabins by lakes. And there's a beautiful lake with cabins just on the Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas border. It's called Broken Bow. And I'm like, why don't I take you for a day? Let me kind of take you around Dallas, but why don't we just get out of town and let's just go have fun? And so I was able to take her to some fun places in Dallas. But it was actually the road trip to Oklahoma to that lake. She said this later. She's like, it's just so interesting that we're so comfortable because silence was okay. Listening to tunes or actually just tuning into the beautiful countryside, it just felt, she used this word, familiar and comfortable. And it was that way the entire weekend. It was just easy and it was fun. And we still had really deep conversations. She had shared with me that Adam, who we were talking about, her husband, ex-husband, who passed away, was the love of her life. And I understood that because I loved my ex as well. Love is different. There's different versions of love. And I didn't feel threatened by that at all. I thought that was actually a beautiful thing. It wasn't until you kind of fast forward the tape that I didn't realize that he had a hand, kind of behind this. And when she read her manifest, it was me, right? I was like, that's me. You manifested me.
Described you.
And so when we wrapped up that trip, she was leaving and she wears this scent that's incredible. And that scent was permeating.
Should we do an ad?
My house.
Should we be like, let's come
I can't tell you the scent because it's a Lexi scent. It's amazing. It smells incredible. And I could smell that for weeks after she was gone.
Is it just her natural scent, her perfume, or?
It's her perfume. Yeah, it's the perfume. And I could smell that. And she said something when she was leaving. She's like, I just feel at peace. Like, you make me feel at peace. And to me, that was the best compliment that she could give me because I'm like, that's what I want. I want to be peace with you. I want to build a life. And so I told her when she left, when she got back to Utah, I'm like, hey, I want to be intentional. I'm like, that was beautiful. Like, I really enjoyed the time with you. I'm like, hey, I want to be intentional. I'm okay just saying, hey, I want to get to know you. In the world of dating apps and all this kind of stuff, I was like, I don't need selection or FOMO. I'm like, I found something that I think is really, really beautiful. I'd like to explore it. And I knew I was moving to Utah. So that to me was the point where I was like, all right, I really want to get to continue to know this beautiful person. It was, that. And so by moving to Utah, getting to know her more, when we moved in together, so fast forward the tape from about July of 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, to now, we moved in, about 6 to 8 months later after we started really dating. And it was the exact same. It was easy. It was comfortable. It doesn't mean we have different personalities and different views, but it was just so comfortable being together. And I thought that was such a good validation of wow, this is exactly what we were both looking for. Something that we're going to complement each other, but actually just felt right. And it felt right from the first day that we moved in together.
Because, the older you get, like I was saying, you're set in your ways and all that stuff. So it just worked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so to talk through some of those shifts of all of a sudden you're both, working professional careers, you've got your things going on, you both have kids of your own, right? And then all of a sudden you mesh this. So what did that mesh look like? It was comfortable, but how did you talk through that transition?
Yeah. Go, babe.
Well, the work stuff was actually, that's one of the things that why it works so well, because we're both in sales. We're on the road all the time. So he just got it, So it was like, that was easy because I didn't have to worry about taking care of somebody else. Like they got the work schedule, and that just makes such a difference.
Yeah, I would just say then we had to be super intentional because she was traveling, I was traveling. So when we were together, we had to make sure we were together. We were present, right? And we were cherishing that time because we didn't have a chance to spend a ton of time together, even though we lived in the same house. Sometimes it was weekends and sometimes it was short weekends. And so it just meant that we were actually really prioritizing each other when we were together.
Being intentional.
With our time.
That makes a lot of sense.
So now that I'm off the road, that's been a transition for us because we spent a lot of time apart. So I'm thinking in the back of my head, like, I wonder how this is going to go. Like,
how am I going to like him?
Are we going to like each other in each other's face all the time?
She actually said that. She's like, do you think we're going to like each other? We're going to enjoy hanging out? I'm like, I hope so. Yeah, I think so. We'll see, right?
Yeah, but all good.
So let's walk through that decision. So you decided, you've been on the road for a lot of time, and we're talking pretty heavy work travel, right? Weeks on the road, a lot of nights in a hotel room, bouncing around from place to place. What made you decide to stop that?
Because I want to be the architect of my own life. And I don't believe in balance, but I do believe in harmony. And I took a look at the 4 quadrants of my life and realized that I was totally off balance because I was burning the stick at both ends. And I was running on fumes. So I can't uphold a good marriage if I'm not my best self. And I mean, let's face it, like my priorities have changed having the experience, of seeing somebody pass. And so it's kind of like looking at your own mortality, like, okay, what matters? What do I want to be remembered for? Is it that you're an executive? Is it what's in your bank account? Is it your type? No, not at all. I was lucky enough that I had my mother help me, thank God, with my 2 girls. And thank God my girls are great girls. And I think they've learned in a backhanded way, not of what not to do from me, right? And I was gone all the time, but some way, somehow, they're amazing little humans.
There's lots of ways to learn.
Yeah, but what I want, in this next chapter is I want to make roots in a home and have new traditions and want the kids to come and hang out and want to be there. And I
Right.
want to
Your
show them
priorities shifted.
a good example of what a good marriage looks like.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. Mike, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You said something interesting to me. You said that when you were with your ex-wife, she was growing and you weren't. You were complacent.
Yeah.
Did she ever push you to grow or?
She did. Yeah. So, she was, not to tell her story, but she was dealing with childhood trauma and those kind of things. I just didn't understand it. I didn't get it. I didn't grow up with that. Right.
Oh, okay.
And so, I always felt like she was stuck. And I was, she would say, hey, you're the rock of the relationship, et cetera. I think I started to treat her like she was fragile when the reality is she was actually working on herself, working through those things, working through all the hard stuff. And when she challenged me to work on the hard stuff, I avoided the hard stuff. I'm like, hey, life is good. Well, I don't
You
want to go
don't
there.
have a reason to
I had no reason.
Yeah.
The real reason is I should have actually dug in so that I could actually connect with her on a different level. And it was, I traveled a lot as well, and so our lives kind of drifted apart. She was a stay-at-home mom, amazing mom, plugged into the kids. I'd come home over the weekend. We prioritized our kids over ourselves a lot of times.
That happens a lot.
She needed a break. I wanted to kind of feel, I wanted time with my kids, the dad time. So just over time, it's really easy to look at where the kind of the divergence occurred. She was continually working on herself. And I thought, oh, hey, physically, I'll work out, those kind of things. That's just one aspect. And I think, Lexi was talking about the 4 quadrants. She was really advancing herself across a lot of those. And I didn't realize that. I didn't actually realize that until later when I look back and say, you actually outgrew me.
Wow.
And I think that was actually really the thing, which is when you try to put a marriage back together, I still was trying to figure myself out, right? I had to go through a really low point in my life to actually step back and be honest and say, hey, where are your gaps? And that was a hard couple years, but probably the most transformative couple years. That was the work I had to do to be ready to meet Lexi, is I had to actually just take accountability and just own my shit. And that was really hard to do because I never wanted to own that. It was I wasn't trying to make someone else the villain of the story, but it was much easier to do that because I had all my stuff together. Where I knew inside I didn't. I had fears and belief systems and those kind of things. But it wasn't until I got low enough where I realized, wow, and creating a community around myself that I felt safe enough to share what was really going on inside me. And I realized I didn't know how I felt. I had numbed myself out so much. I didn't know how to actually even describe a feeling, an emotion, besides very, very basic things.
Right.
And so I had to go on my own journey to kind of unravel myself. And it was a super beautiful journey. And through that journey, really did a lot of healing with my ex.
Yeah.
Because it was really, really very similar to Lexi's story. It's really, really hard. When you break up a marriage of 20 years, it's hard.
So looking back at your rock bottom, It's easy to say when you're at your rock bottom. It's easy to think that it's really bad and really hard and not good, and to feel mad and feel angry and to kind of feel bad for yourself. But looking back, it's now easy to be like, oh, that was so good for me. Like, I needed that.
Yeah, I remember being in some groups where they're like, hey, you'll look back and this will actually be a blessing.
Right.
I was like, no way. Like, this is this is shitty, right? Like, this sucks. And I had challenges with my daughters, right? So I had to kind of rebuild myself and rebuild myself an authentic way, even with my kids and my ex-wife, and even with myself. I had to start with myself. When I was going through rock bottom, I finally realized, hey, the only person I can control is myself. The only work I can do is on myself. And by doing that work, I want to be an authentic version and a present version. One of the things I realized in my life is I wasn't present in a lot of my life. I run a sales team, and so a lot of times I was actually on the next deal or the next trip, or the only time I felt like I was super present was actually when I was with my daughters. Plugged in, because I'm like, hey, I want to be here. But actually, a lot of parts of my life, I actually felt like I was somewhere else. And so it was that rock bottom where I'm like, all right, I'm present. I need to be present. I want to be present in my life. I don't want the rest of my life to actually go by, and for me to look back and say, I didn't participate in that journey. And so it was, I look back now and say that was actually the biggest gift, even though it was really, really challenging for me, because it forced me to get real.
Yeah.
I love that. So you were living together for a little while, you start making some changes, and then what made you make the decision to say, all right, let's get married? Like, was that decided pretty early on, or how did that look?
I think Lexi had dangled the marriage thing for quite a while, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to get married to you. What we did is when we decided to move in together, we kind of postponed the marriage thing, saying, hey, let's move in together, let's build a life together. I think what Lexi was doing is also testing me a little bit to say, hey, is he willing to take the next step? So moving in together was the next step. Like, hey, I want to commit that, hey, let's start to build a life together. The beautiful thing about that is her daughter works for the American Cancer Society. And we attended an event, a gala that she hosted. And we actually bid on some French Open tickets. I'm a huge tennis fan.
Oh, cool. Me too.
Hey.
List. I know you guys
Love
play
it.
tennis.
Yeah.
And it came up. I'm like, yeah, that's what we want to bid on. And it happened to be Paris, and it happened to be May of last year.
Yeah.
And in the back of my mind, I'm like, if this continually goes the direction it's going, that would be an amazing opportunity to propose to Lexi.
Aww.
And we moved into our home in March, April
Yep.
of that same year. So what I love about it is it wasn't on her radar at all. Like, a lot of people are like, oh,
that
let's
true?
propose.
Yeah.
Did it surprise? Okay.
I was content because we moved in together. So
Right.
I was like,
Yes.
okay. Like,
So you had
Cool.
dangled the carrot and then you let it go.
and I let it go.
And what I knew at that point that I wanted to be with her for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so I was able to actually talk to her daughters. I was able to talk to her parents. I was able to talk to my daughters. And it was really important for me to make sure I got their approval. And what was amazing is none of them actually told. None of them broke, which was
believe it.
That's
amazing.
so cool. You asked for their permission. Yeah.
So while we were going really for the French Open, we were really going to get engaged. And it's a cool story. Like, the CEO of the company I work for had just been in Paris a week or two before. I was trying to figure out where to propose. And she had just gone to a restaurant that has this beautiful view of the Eiffel Tower. And she's like, this is the place you should propose. And she started showing me pictures. I'm like, that's the place I want to propose. Because it felt like you were in a table all by yourself, right there with just you and the Eiffel Tower. And the Eiffel Tower lights up twice every evening.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And so I'm like, all right, that's where I want to propose. So that's what Lexi said. Everything just kept on lining up to say, this is the right moment. And it just felt right.
Yeah.
So I was so excited she wasn't aware it was going to happen. To the point where when I knelt down, the Eiffel Tower lit up the first time. I'm like, hey, I'm going to propose the first time, because then the second time we can enjoy it together. So I knelt down, proposed, and she was so enamored with the Eiffel Tower. I'm like, and then went down behind her. She's looking this way. I'm right here.
It's like Lex.
I'm like, hey, Lex. She's like, what? Like, I'm really enjoying this. Like,
The show's over here.
what could you say that's more interesting than this? She turned out, she's like, oh, this is happening. And it was so special, though.
Really funny.
So it was so funny. Yeah. So she quickly realized why I was bugging her.
Yeah. And then you watch the rerun an hour later with the lights.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, fully locked in. That's
Oh,
cool.
that's so sweet.
And then the wedding, like you've done everything intentional. Tell us just quickly about like, I mean, I love going from the city of love or the city of lights, I guess, whatever you want to call it, right? Proposal, all of a sudden you get married in St. Lucia with your family around. Like, how was that both the pinnacle and the start of this journey?
Well, I was okay just going down to the courthouse, but my daughter, my oldest daughter, wouldn't allow that, I guess. So when when Mike asked for her permission, she said, I want to be there.
Got it on screen.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah. St. Lucia.
Yep. And this is the one where when I went to Texas, I was scared to go to Texas, and she forced me on the plane to go to Texas. And then when we actually started dating, she was a little guarded, you know. She was just like, who is this guy?
Yeah, like I didn't want this. Yeah, let's go. Who's this guy? Yeah.
So like, tell them about the conversation.
Yeah, so when I sat down, Lexi had been very vocal, which is, hey, when we get married, I want it to be simple and just the two of us. And her oldest daughter was like, no way. Like, we want to be there. Now, she didn't say you have to go on a beach, or somewhere else. She's like, I just want to be there. I want to hear your vows. I thought that was actually really neat. I'm like, I want my daughters to be there too. And so that really connected with me. And so I committed to her oldest daughter to say, hey, you guys will be there. And I had to share that with Lexi a little bit later. I'm like, hey, by the way, I committed something. I'm committed that our girls are going to be with us.
Yes.
And she's like, well, that's not really what I want. I'm like, well, that's what's going to happen. And it turned out,
This is a fantastic courthouse.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
whatever
yeah.
courthouse step that is quite pristine.
So,
It was amazing.
and then as we were talking about it, what would be really magical? She's like, I'd love to get married on a beach. I'd love to have that, and I'd love to have a sand ceremony. And so actually, one of the guys in Watt, a guy named Alan Swick, has a travel agent that he connected me with, and so she has Greek background, so we were looking at Greece and kind of that area. We were looking at Maui and Hawaii. And they were like, let's do something different that's a different part. And so we landed on the Caribbean, and then we were looking at different islands. And this travel agent just really helped us find a beautiful place. And if you fast forward, it's exactly what we were looking for. It was just our 4 daughters, so my 2, her 2, and then their partners. There's 10 of us. It was intimate. It was fun. She looked incredible, beautiful, sunset kind of wedding. So, St. Lucia is now part of our story. It turned out incredible.
All of our kids are the same age, so that was cool. Like they just, yeah, like it's they'll be friends. They're like-minded people. They hit it off down there. It was really fun. It was a trip of a lifetime.
Yeah, some of them got scuba certified, so we had some first-time scuba divers, which was fun. Did a jungle trek. March. So we got married March 25th of this year. So it was just barely.
Which is the date of our first date. Yeah. Yeah. We did.
Yeah, I dug it up for our first year anniversary. I dug up the date, and so I wanted to go back. So I had to go back and I can't remember which application I kind of signed up. We went to Market Street Grill, and so I went back. I'm like, okay, I found the exact date, right? And so fast forward, we're like, hey, what was interesting is we were going to do it on our proposal or our engagement date, because we thought that would work better for the kids. It actually turned out that all of their calendars freed up that week.
What?
For our second anniversary on that date. And we're like, there's no way. They're going to be in school and all kinds of stuff. It's that week that actually lined up for everyone.
So how long have you been together then?
2 years.
2 years.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Okay, well, let's do this in closing. We're new to this. We're trying to figure out a relationship. Any advice you'd give to us or other couples out there, just in general, about what's made your relationship special? What would you say?
Being present. So when you're sitting on the couch, put down your phones and just be present. Have hard conversations, and don't be afraid to talk about your fantasies.
Your fantasies? Mm-hmm. Oh, like what you want in life?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
What you want in life, what you want in
Yeah.
sex, like everything. Like,
Fantasies.
just be.
Yeah, fantasies are good.
He said that as I'm wrapping up the interview. We're not delaying that edition.
Yeah, the other thing I would add is keep dating each other, right? I think I got so connected, and me and my ex got so connected in life and parenthood and all that kind of stuff, we lost track of one another. Got to prioritize yourselves. And I remember my sister had said that, like, hey, we still date, etc. Sometimes we'll go on trips without our kids. I was like, oh man, but she was actually right, which is, and so one of the things we talk about is, hey, how do you just continue to date each other and create special moments, conversations, and it doesn't have to be an elaborate, it could just be anything, right? So just continue to date each other and put each other even over your kids. And that was hard for us to do, actually. I think we had that inverted. If I look backwards, I'm like, we had that wrong, actually.
Yep.
I'm glad you said that.
And I mean, you spend your whole life trying to prove to yourself to get somewhere, to get to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, right? And at some point, like, when is enough enough? And we're all different with that. But don't lose yourself in it. So my thing is, like, I want to be childlike and play again and get back to, like,
Fantasies.
yeah.
Get back
Oh.
to having fun.
Yeah.
Oh, did I say that? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to be doing the second interview tonight. We're going to be heading straight to fantasy land. I can't wait. Anything else for you?
Yeah, so I wanted to say something, listening to both of your guys' individual stories, and something that you both have said that you've come back to is presence. I feel like what you've learned about presence is your priorities shifting in life is what's brought or helped bring presence into your life. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think what's interesting for me, this is my personal experience, is I feel like I was trying to run from who I was, and all of my experiences have taken me back to who I've always been. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. It's brought you back to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still think that even though I'm aware that presence is important, it's easier to get distracted.
Yeah.
And so Lexi does an amazing job of bringing me back and saying, hey, you need to be present, because it's easy for me to get distracted still, even though I'm aware of it. And life is bumpy, right? Ups and downs and anxieties and being overwhelmed. I need someone to ground me, and she does an amazing job of bringing me back to be present. And I want to be present with her. And so, and I want to be present in friendships. I want to be present with my kids. So it's a beautiful gift, and she does an amazing job of helping me kind of return back, because it's something I always have to continue to come back with, even though I know how important it is.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much. That last little nugget there, I was just like, that was a drop the mic moment, coming back to yourself. Thank you so much. Best of
thanks,
luck in
guys.
all your
It's
new
fun.
ventures and your new transition with getting off the road and being home more. I know that's not all that it's cracked out to be too. That's a huge transition. And so best of luck to everything with your new phase in life. Do you have a gift on you?
Actually, it's right over
You
there.
bring one to us. We end every episode bringing a gift to you.
Oh,
Sorry, she's
great.
got nothing for you. But
That is okay.
cool here.
This
We'll do
is the gift right here, guys. This is fun.
So I started a jewelry company called Osha Chains, and I have this butterfly necklace that we're gifting to the guests.
Oh, I
would
love
love for you to find this
butterflies.
necklace.
Transition.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Butterfly has so many different meanings. It can connect you to people who have been passed. It can connect you to your transformation journeys and all of that. So
Thank you, Bree, so
Love
much.
that.
Guys, so much fun.
Yay,
That was so easy.
guys.
Thank you guys. Get well.